Welcome to this Masterclass Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to be your teacher today as we demystify something that, let's be honest, strikes fear into the hearts of almost everyone, the dreaded philosophy paper. We're going to break this whole process down. As you'll see, it's really not about just summarizing dead historical figures. It's actually about crafting a compelling, airtight argument of your very own. By the time we wrap up today, you are going to be fully equipped to write like a true philosopher. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 4 main steps: crafting your thesis statement, writing like a philosopher, building your case, and organizing your paper. Let's start that journey right now, moving from a single thought all the way to a finished execution. Section 1, crafting your thesis statement. This is absolutely the core, the beating heart of any argumentative paper. So what exactly are we talking about here? A thesis statement is a declarative statement that puts forward a position or makes a specific claim. It has to go far beyond mere description. Now, here is a massive pro tip for you. Narrow, modest claims are actually your best friend. Think of it like defending a fortress. It is so much easier to defend a small, highly fortified castle than trying to protect a massive, sprawling empire, right? You want a claim that is specific, manageable, and highly focused. Now, if you are staring at a blank page, watching that cursor blink, and wondering how to actually generate that strong claim, well, here is your toolkit. You can compare 2 philosophical positions to find similarities or differences. You could identify a weak piece of evidence in a philosopher's argument and critique it. You can take a philosophical perspective and apply it to a contemporary issue. Or, you might find new evidence to strengthen an existing position, or even explore the positive or negative implications of an argument. These are tried and true methods that will give you perfectly acceptable, developable thesis ideas every single time. Let's actually look at this contrast in action because it's super helpful. Take a look at this weak, descriptive thesis. Descartes argues that the mind and body are 2 different substances. Okay, well, that basically just parrots back the text. It's a book report. Now contrast that with a strong philosophical claim. Thomas Hobbes's view of the soul is materialistic, whereas Descartes' view is non-physical. In this paper, I will examine the differences between these 2 views. Do you see the shift there? You aren't just describing Descartes anymore. You're actively putting him in a philosophical battle against Hobbes, setting up a real analytical argument. And that is exactly what your professor is looking for. Which brings us perfectly to Section 2, writing like a philosopher. Let's shift from the abstract theory into some concrete writing tools you can literally use right now. I highly recommend jotting this next part down. Here is a fantastic plug-and-play template straight from our source text. It reads, "Name holds that claim, but another name holds that another claim." In this paper, I will identify reasons for thinking name's position is more likely to be true. This template is magic. It effortlessly sets up a comparative argument structure for you. It forces you to state 2 opposing views and then actually take a clear, defensible stance on which one is stronger. It does all the heavy lifting of formatting your philosophical thought. And here is a second template, and this one is specifically designed for applying philosophy to the modern world. Name argues that claim. In this paper, I will show how this claim provides a helpful addition to contemporary issue. So for example, you could take John Rawls's liberty principle, which basically argues that all people have a basic set of freedoms, and apply it to a highly contemporary real-world issue like immigrant and refugee rights. This template instantly connects classical philosophical thought to current events. It bridges that gap. And again, that is the exact kind of critical application that gets top marks. Moving right along to Section 3, building your case. We've got our thesis. Now we enter the investigation phase, where we collect and evaluate evidence from our primary and secondary readings. To build a successful paper, you really need to adopt the mindset of a prosecutor building a true evidence-based case. But you have to beware of a massive logical trap here, and it's called straw manning. This is when you deliberately misrepresent your opponent's argument to make it look flimsy, like a scarecrow, just so you can easily knock it down and look like the winner. True philosophers absolutely do not do this. Instead, they use what's called the principle of charity. That means actively rebuilding the opponent's argument to be as strong and as fair as possible before tackling it. Your goal is to find the most rationally compelling argument, and that means you have to fight fair. Which brings us to a really critical moment in our masterclass today. What do you think is the absolute fastest way to make your argument stronger? Just think about that for a second. If you want your professor to be totally blown away by your reasoning, what must you include? The answer
You must anticipate and respond to counterarguments. Going back to our prosecutor analogy, you literally have to actively try to defeat your own case before the defense even gets a chance to speak. It's like playing chess against yourself. By engaging in this dialectical process, you demonstrate that you've deeply thought through your position's potential weaknesses, and you proactively remove those lines of attack an opponent might use. It proves to the reader that you aren't just cherry-picking evidence that agrees with you, but that you are actually seeking the real truth.
All right, Section 4, organizing your paper. It's time to take all this incredible evidence and those counterarguments and assemble them into a coherent written presentation. The best way to think about structuring your paper is exactly like building a house. Step 1 is the foundation, which is your introduction. Step 2 consists of the support beams, your body paragraphs. And Step 3 is the walls and roof, which is your conclusion. Let's break this blueprint down to make this totally abstract concept incredibly actionable for your own writing. Step 1 is your foundation. The sole purpose of your introduction is to provide context and motivation for your paper. Now hear this warning loud and clear. Please avoid long-winded historical retellings. Your reader does not need a sprawling biography of Aristotle from his birth all the way to his deathbed. The foundation just needs to lay the groundwork so that your awesome, highly focused thesis statement can sit clearly and inevitably right at the very end of that opening paragraph. Next up, Step 2, the support beams. These are your body paragraphs. This is where you bring in the heavy timber. You build these paragraphs using all the evidence from your detective work, the quotes, the paraphrases, the context, your novel ideas, and yes, those crucial counterarguments we talked about. You want to tell a logical narrative here. It should be a story where the evidence leads the reader step by step toward a completely inevitable conclusion. And finally, Step 3, the walls and roof, your conclusion. Here, you simply recapitulate the argument and revisit the supporting evidence. You're just reinforcing that beautiful structure you've built, reminding the reader of the solid, undeniable case you just made. And remember the golden rule of conclusions. Do not introduce any new furniture into the house. Seriously, no new information here. Simply put the roof on the structure you've already finished building. Which leaves us with one final essential question to ponder today. Is your foundation strong enough to overcome cognitive bias and support your philosophical structure? You see, the tools we've explored today, they aren't just about passing a class or getting a good grade. They are actual defenses against errors in reasoning in your everyday life. So, will you use these tools just to win an argument, or will you use them to genuinely arrive at the truth? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and happy writing.